You may be seated. Thank you all for coming. What an incredible encouragement. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you my lovely wife, Donna, who's down front. Donna, would you stand? My wife and the mother of my 3 children. And I think Stephanie is around here somewhere, is she? There she is, my daughter, Stephanie, stand up. My namesake. And I don't know if Maia is here or not. I have a third child who's in Austin. And Maia, my other daughter, I think is studying for a test. But glad you all could come and to be a part of what we're about to do in the 30th District. We are ready to dislodge Eddie Bernice Johnson and send her home. I think this is a special moment, and we need to make sure that we have a clear understanding as to what is happening here tonight. This is not about Stephen Broden. This is about the rescue of this republic. We are here because we recognize that there's an authentic and genuine threat to our way of life. And you have been uneasy about what's happening in Washington, D.C., and you have been activated. And your activation now is to be engaged to the point where we can make sure that when we send those who dare to represent us to Washington, D.C., that they go with an understanding that they must support our constitutional freedoms. And so that's why we're here. And I want you to know this is not about Stephen Broden. It's not at all about Stephen Broden. In fact, I want to remind you that I'm here as a servant leader. I come out of the community of faith. And out of the community of faith, we have the greatest example of a servant leader in Jesus Christ. I intend to model my leadership after him, and I make no bones about it. I am a Christian, and I am representing a Judeo-Christian frame. That's my intent. Now, as we go forward together, I want to cover a couple of ideas tonight, and then we'll get after what I think is most important in terms of us winning the day. Part of what's going to help us win the day, men and women, is that you've got to give not only of your time, but you've got to give your treasure as well. Your time, your talent, and treasure has to be involved in this. For we face the same kind of threat that our founding fathers were facing at the beginning of this nation. And they told us that they sacrificed their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor. I think we're at that same moment again. For the threat that we're facing is one that attempts to change us forever from who we are as a people into something that fits more of the definition of Saul Alinsky, Karl Marx, and Bill Ayers. That is not where we want to go. I believe that's why you're here today. You're here today because you recognize that something sinister is happening in Washington, D.C. What we're facing in Washington, D.C., men and women, are a group of ideologues. Men and women who have their goals set to change America. This has been coming at us for a long time. It just didn't happen in this administration. But rather at the turn of the 19th century, the 20th century, Woodrow Wilson led us into a soft tyranny. And that tyranny has evolved into where we are today. People who have been hell-bent on changing America into a socialistic paradigm. And we must push back. There are 3 things that I have said over the year. That as we are engaged, as we become engaged, our engagement has to be targeted and focused. In order for that to happen, we must have information, education, and activation. Many of you heard me say that before. But I think it bears repeating today that our actions and activity must be informed by information. We ask and answer the question, what's going on? What's happening in America? Is this something that is by design, or is this an accident? I submit to you that it is a design attempt never change us.
Yes.
And we must get the kind of information that will help us to focus our energy in such a way that we can accomplish the task that is before us. By education, we ask and answer the question, why is this happening to us? Why is this going on? In the 5,000-year leap, the author says that the business elite were a little fed up with how slow our government works at the turn of the century. They were men of action. They were tycoons. They got things done quickly in their businesses. But when they turned to the government, our founding fathers framed the government in such a way that it sought consensus. And consensus takes time. And they thought it moved too slow. And they began to examine which of the systems out there would best serve their need. And they all agreed that socialism and big government was the best way to go. And they have been hell-bent on taking us in that direction ever since. It is not by accident that we're where we are today. We're here today because they have designed it to be that way. But more importantly, we're here because we have not been good stewards of the liberty that has been given to us. We have abdicated our responsibility to be ever vigilant to protect these liberties that God has given to us. These unalienable rights that are sourced in the divine. We have abdicated that responsibility. Now it is incumbent upon us to step up to the plate and make sure that that which has been given to us will remain with us and that we can give it to our children and our grandchildren. How did we get here? It's important in terms of how we move forward. Any movement that does not have direction behind it is a colossal waste of time. It's like energy, wasted energy. Oftentimes I use this illustration that it's like a pot of water on a stove. You turn the heat on and the water boils. It's a lot of energy that's happening there, but it evaporates if you don't harness that energy. We must harness our energy. And our energy must be targeted and specific. And here, I believe, is the challenge of the Republican Party. Our challenge, and I say ours because I believe you and I are part of the leadership that is required for us to rescue this nation. Samuel Adams says it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men and women. That's what it's going to require of us. It's going to require of us to be intent and focused. But our message has to be honed and specific. The Republican Party is losing the day with its messaging. We are not gaining the hearts and minds of young people. It's not accidental or incidental, my friends, tonight, that we don't see the 30-something-year-olds in here, or the 20-something-year-olds in here. We need to find a way. We need to find a way to attract them.
Amen.
Amen.
And our message is not doing it right now. And may I say to you that the message that we have is a message that is a part of the founding principles that made this nation great. It is one, I believe, that was crafted with William F. Buckley, who sought to move from the extreme right into the middle. And in so doing, he left off some of the founding principles and targeted specifically limited government and being fiscally responsible.